Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Welcome to the Financial Independence Coach, naturally creating freedom, meaning, and wealth. Brought to you by Yefo Pty Ltd, in association with Brandlive.co.za. And here is your host and coach, Yvonne E. Ventilo.
Good morning, Brand Live streamers and Yefo Pty Ltd subscribers. Yes, it is Monday, 10:30, and you have just joined the Financial Independence Show. Today we are chatting about creating wealth. But before we get into the subject, just a little disclaimer. Before my peers in the financial industry have a bit of a disagreement with me. Their advice or recommendations or any subject matter discussed in this show is not direct advice for you to go and change whatever you have got. I'm not stating that you must go and sell your life policies or your investments, as I need to give you that advice one-on-one after I have viewed your portfolio and your risk analysis and everything else that goes with this. This show is for non-phase advice. In other words, it's advice not leading to the sell or recommendation of a specific product. It is only information to educate and inform you. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, how do we create wealth? A lot of people get this subject matter completely wrong from the fact that they start looking at creating wealth from the wrong side of the perspective. Before you can create any kind of wealth in any kind of asset class, you need to ensure that wherever you are putting those asset classes into, that bucket where you are collecting all your, let's call it eggs in a basket, that bucket is not leaking. So with creating wealth, your first step that you need to take is to know your numbers. To prevent the fact that Parkinson's law gets the better of you. If you don't know your numbers, you do not know what your expenses are, where your money is flowing to. You cannot control your money and thus not invest your money properly. A simple example. I've had a client for many years where her biggest dream was to obtain her own financial freedom and to be able to give to her kids what she never had. The biggest problem was she kept on giving and not retaining any of her income generated by her assets. Her asset list was remarkable. She had an asset in almost every single asset class that you can think of. But she could never really prove to herself where all her income is flowing to. She literally had a dripping bucket. And I'm not talking about huge amounts disappearing out of your bank account and somebody's hacked your bank account. Yeah, you have to notice those kind of things too and take precaution for it. Identity theft is quite a big issue in this day and age with all the technology. But I'm talking about small amounts. Small amounts, those under 99 Rand amounts that go through your bank account. Whether it is card swipes, whether it is small policies going through, whether it is just small debit orders for some sort of transaction that you did some time or another and can't even remember when you said yes to it, still going through your bank account. And obviously, your banking costs. Quite a few of us don't even realize that the more cash you withdraw and pay cash that you pay in, you pay a fee on that cash. As my client realized in one of the small sideline hustles that she had was a little cash business. And clients used to deposit cash into this bank account, and she could never understand why the invoices that she submitted to clients for payment for the goods that she issued never tallied up to the actual bank account. When I actually sat down with her and we did an investigation on this, she realized that every single time somebody pays cash into her bank account, she pays the cash handling fee. Now, it differs from bank to bank, but that 2 Rand here and 12 Rand there, it impacts on your bottom line. And if you don't know those numbers, it's going to impact on your profit. Because this is expenses dripping out of your bucket that you're not controlling. In the same regard, we have quite a few clients that have all kinds of small policies going through their bank account. On deeper investigation, some of those policies that are based on the short-term insurance underwriting does not always cover you for what you think you are covered. The problem there is some call center agent phoned you and told you about this wonderful product, and you thought it was a great idea to get it. I mean, it's less than 99 Rand a month. So, it's damage is not that big. But in a scenario, for instance, like my mother, where she took out one of these policies and came to the stage where she needed to claim against this policy, one of the underlying requirements of the policy that was never pointed out to her, nor did she take the time to read through the documentation, was that if there was scenarios of pre-existing cancers, her claim would not be covered. Now, like in anything in life, you need to do due diligence on what you've got. So when you know your numbers, and you know that little 99 Rand is for that policy, know what the policy is about. If that policy is in no ways or means going to cover you for pre-existing conditions or specific scenarios where you know you are most probably going to find yourself into, why do you still have the policy? Why do you want to put yourself through the heartache of paying and paying and paying and paying, and then coming to claim stage and they're not being able to claim? The same scenario, having on your credit card a insurance, a disability and death insurance, that specifically isolate certain incidences that it will not cover. If the policy clearly stated that it's not going to pay in those situations, and you know by your true, authentic self, and you are being honest with yourself, that you will find yourself somehow or another in that situation. You cannot expect the insurance company to pay out a claim, even though you've paid all the premiums. In some scenarios, all those premiums paid into that policy could have been put to better use in an investment that could have been utilized in the foresaid event that you would have not be able to claim for. So knowing your numbers and doing the due diligence on what you have got is your first point where you need to start. Otherwise, building any kind of portfolio, any kind of asset portfolio, whether it's paper assets, whether it is immovable assets, whether it is movable assets, whether it is Kruger gold coins. If you do not know what your numbers are, where your money is flowing to, what your assets' current value is, what your assets bought in value was, and what is the baseline against what you will tolerate the drop in value on that asset, you cannot start building on it. Here's an example. I sat with some clients a few years ago where prior to me seeing them, 10 to 15 years prior, they all bought into a specific asset class for the idea to fund their children's education by the time they get to matric. So that's their tertiary education. And when they got to that point where some of them had to go to tertiary and they wanted to obtain the value of that asset out of the asset, they were woken up with a very, very bad surprise. But we'll get into more of that after the ad break. But for now, here's some ads.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
Hey Bonang, how are you?
Hi Tuli, look so beautiful. Hey, long time no see. What happened to your skin, by the way? The last time I saw you, you had a lot of blemishes and breakouts. It was so terrible, man.
Wow, thanks for that, Bonang. Luckily, I discovered DMK. Have you heard of DMK?
DMK? Who are they?
DMK is a paramedical skincare brand that specializes in all skin conditions. Would you like their number?
Yes, please.
I know you're not good at numbers, so let me give you their website address because your skin looks terrible. It's www.dmkskincare.co.za.
The unique experience. Living as One Events presents relationship talks, drama, Q&A sessions,
music, love stories, ladies and gents session, and lots more. Registration fee at 150 Rand.
happening at Bread of Life Foundation Venue, Honeydew Shopping Center, Bayers Nordia Drive, corner Blueberry Drive, Unit 66, Laser Park, Honeydew. Saturday, 15 September at 11 a.m. RSVP on 072-851-8702.
Live from 27 boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.
And welcome back. You have just joined the Financial Independence Show, brought to you by Yeffel Pty Ltd, live on brandlive.co.za. Before the ad break, I was telling you about an example of parents that bought into an asset class, specifically for the tertiary education of their children. Now, when these parents wanted to obtain the value out of that asset class, when some of these children was on the brink of going to tertiary, they were woken up into a nightmare. And I say a nightmare because what they got in return for what they thought they had, personally for me, was a joke. But I could not say that to these parents. Unfortunately, both the parents and the insurance company who hold these assets for these parents were at fault. Now, what happened was these assets were supposed to give the children cover in the event if something happened to the parent, but at the same time build up a monetary value that could be cashed out for them to go and study further. Now, in 99% of the cases that came across my desk those few years ago, none of these parents, number one, did their due diligence on it. None of them made sure that what was promised was actually what they got. Now, over the years, the Financial Services Board has come into play, and quite a few legislations has changed within the financial industry to prevent scenarios like this happening. Yet we do still find here and there cases where parents, clients obtain products, what they are told they've got and what they understand they've got and what they actually have is two different things. Now, unless you as an adult, now I'm calling everybody that's listening over the age of 18 an adult, because you have to take the responsibility to go and make sure that what you have gotten, whether it's a paper asset or a physical asset, you must make sure what you have gotten is what you paid for. I mean, there's no way that you can walk into a motor dealership, put 250,000 Rand down for a motor vehicle, and then when you walk out of that dealership, walk out with just the body and the axles, without the wheels, without the engine. I mean, nobody in their right mind is going to do that. So why do you let yourself be preyed in that way with a paper asset? If a paper asset is given to you and it's stated it's supposed to have an engine, tires, rims, a roof, then surely you must make sure that that is what you've got in your paper asset. Now, 10, 15 years down the line, you want to resell that asset or cash out your value of that asset, and you're sitting with what? You're sitting with a body, with suspension, and with an axle, seats inside, no engine to go anywhere, so it's been standing still for 10, 15 years, so there was no growth on it, although you've been pouring money into it like crazy. And now you want to tell everybody that that asset class doesn't work? Go and look at your serial investors. Take Warren Buffett, for instance. Now, Warren Buffett does due diligence and homework for hours and hours and hours on end. He researches it this way, he researches it that way, he looks it up and down before he makes a choice to buy into an asset class. to buy into a share. And once he has bought into it, he doesn't just put it on a shelf somewhere. He literally tracks where it's going. What is it doing? He has got a bottom line that is drawn, that if it drops to that, it's time to get out. It's time to quit. Yes, and I know everybody says, don't quit, don't quit. But you know what? There's some times where you have to cut your losses and say enough is enough. You're not going to lose more water out of this bucket. There's sometimes when a bucket is just not useful anymore. And if you are not tracking your investments, your expenses, your daily spending behaviors, your property, whether immovable, whether movable, whether paper assets, whether unit trust, if you do not keep track of what is in there, what you put in, how do you expect to get growth out of it? It's like a farmer walking in a field. Yes, now he's plowed the field, it's ready to sow, and he just throws all his seeds, the whole area full. If it rains, it rains. If it doesn't rain, it doesn't rain. It doesn't take effort to water it. It doesn't take effort to maintain the field. It doesn't take effort to go and check, is there something happening? Do you really think that farmer is going to have anything to harvest at harvest time? So in that same breath, how do you expect to have any return on any kind of investment? How do you expect to have any kind of control over your monthly income if you don't take control of it? Parkinson's law plays an effect in 99% of people's lives. And I and many of my guests previously have referred to this. Parkinson's law, where your expenses will rise to meet or exceed your income unless you take control of it. Here's an exercise for you for the next week. I call it the shoebox experiment with my clients. For the next week, I want you to take a box, a shoebox. Put all your slips in there. Every single cent that you spend, whether it's a cup of coffee at Mug and Bean, or whether it's petrol on the go, or whether it's just a small piece of paper stating, today I paid 10 Rand towards a taxi. Put it all in a box. By the end of the week, go calculate what you've paid out, and then you'll see where your bucket is leaking. Now, should you have any more questions or want more information with regards to financial coaching, you can reach me on my business WhatsApp line, which is South Africa's code +27 065 899 1918, or alternatively, you can email me at admin@yevl, that's yevel.co.za. Until next week, when we talk about meaning, and I have a special guest arranged to come and chat to us, I say shalom.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.